I just wanted to say that in the present context, we normally would keep quiet while eating, but when one sits on a dining table and then you invite people, and then it is expected that you talk. Because if you're guests, if they are sitting on the dining table, if you just keep quiet and just start eating, and so that becomes really I have faced it so many times that you are quiet and people say, "What has happened to you?" You are not even responding to what they are saying. This becomes a social problem, basically.
It's not a problem. It is our limited mindfulness. One can be mindful of. जब हम टीवी पे फिल्म देखते हैं तो हम ये नहीं कहते कि भाई आवाज पहले देखेंगे फिर सुनेंगे. You see it simultaneously. You switch automatically. So it's a matter of practice, really. Of course, it's more difficult when you're talking, and that happens once in a while. It's not always happening. We don't get guests every day. Then they won't be guests. So we can always, okay, if you make exception, that also is all right. But as a rule, we can always be mindful while eating, rather than being mindful when we end up getting a stone in the mouth or hair on the plate or some such thing. So, of course, it's usually we are not giving attention to that. We can practice slowly. At least the जो addictions हैं उसके अगर है इस तरह का तो बहुत ज़रूरी है. And it's not very difficult really. टेस्ट तो आता ही रहता है तो उस पर ध्यान देने की ज़रूरत है. जब प्लेट में खाना पड़ा तो उसको देख तो सकते ही हैं पहले. And it doesn't take much time really. And if we eat by touching with hand, then we know what's happening. बहुत गर्म होता है तो खुद ही पता चल जाता है, फिर हमको विचार करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. ठंडा हो ज़्यादा गर्म हो, moderate, जो so-called desired temperature से difference है, then we know it immediately. At that time, whether they are reacting or aware, that's it. We know it. Whenever reaction happens, we know it. और जितनी हमारी प्रैक्टिस होगी उतना मालूम पड़ता रहता है. रिएक्शन के बाद फिर बुरा लगता है, यार ठीक है छोटी सी तो बात थी. But then again we can see, oh, now remorse operating, and put it aside. So it's a question of integrating our life with the practice. It does add to the difficulty of mindfulness when you're talking and all that. But we have to be mindful while talking. कि हम क्या बोल रहे हैं.
लेकिन जब हम खाना खाते हैं गेस्ट, if you are eating alone in the family, you can be mindful, much more mindful. But when the guest is there, you cannot have full mindfulness because you are talking to guest also at the same time. Because guest is not aware that he has to eat mindfully. He may or he may not. So when the guests are there, you cannot be fully mindful. I feel, if you are talking to the guest, or you have the practice of mindfulness early, means you are continuously eating mindfully every day, you have make it a routine in your life. When the guests are there, it is not possible, since you have to talk to the guest, otherwise he will feel that what type of a person is this, he is eating quietly. Or if you are in that kind of society where everybody is eating, they are eating quietly, the pandit hote hain ya kuch hote hain, they eat quietly, then you can be much more mindful. What I am feeling.
Practically आप कह रहे हैं, लेकिन actually हमको दिक्कत ये है कि हम सोचते हैं कि when you are talking you can't be mindful. ये क्या बात है? Actually we have to be extra mindful. खाते टाइम बात करते हुए हम फालतू की बात तो नहीं कर रहे.
लेकिन जिस समय हम गेस्ट वो बात करेगा, आप खाना खा रहे हैं,
मैं समझ गया आपकी
mindful both the ways.
आप
eating mindfulness and talking to the person.
You have to be mindful while talking. absolutely essential.
But then
Especially
cannot,
I'm telling you.
you are talking to the person, the guest, but you cannot eat mindfully. It means कि हम खाना खा रहे हैं, चबा रहे हैं, ये कर रहे हैं, वो
आप
कर रहे
अगर
हैं.
ये कहें कि मुश्किल है, हाँ मान सकता हूँ,
मुश्किल है, मतलब मैं ये नहीं
You
कहती
can't say it's not
इम्पॉसिबल है,
possible.
पर थोड़ा कठिन है ये.
Actually, जो
unless it is in your routine बहुत ज्यादा गहराई से आप निरंतरता से करते आ रहे हैं, अनेक मतलब समय से, हम गेस्ट के सामने थोड़ा सा मतलब कठिन है, ये मेरा कहने का तात्पर्य है.
कठिन तो सामान्य जीवन में है ही है, उसमें कुछ
कठिन है थोड़ा सा.
कठिन है, लेकिन अभ्यास नहीं करेंगे तो और कठिन हो जाएगा.
वो बात तो सही है,
अभ्यास करना पड़ेगा. और एक्चुअली तो मुझे तो खास तौर पे बात करते समय बहुत एक वो लगता है कि मैं कहीं बह तो नहीं जाऊंगा बात करने में. So actually leave aside food. If you're just sitting and guests are there with you and they are saying something, you have to be extremely mindful कि कह रहे हैं और मैं उसको उनको ऐसा जवाब ना दूं जिससे उनको हर्ट हो, बट ऐसा भी ना दूं जिससे उनका अहित हो. बहुत आवश्यक है. एक साधक होने के नाते हम बह जाएं और उसी तरह की बातें करने लगे जैसे वो कर रहे हैं, वो हम उनका अहित कर रहे हैं एक्चुअली.
ये अगर आप वैसे ही के साथ माइंडफुली मतलब बहुत ही ज्यादा ऐसे सोच विचार लेके नहीं, या मुझे इनसे ऐसे बात करनी चाहिए, मैं नहीं कहती हूँ, तो अगला जो गेस्ट होगा उसको इसको क्या हो, तो ऐसा मुझे ऐसा लगता है.
You have to learn to be silent. That's the point.
But the guest has come.
Yeah, when he's talking, we listen silently, not interfere every moment. उसने एक शब्द कहा और फिर मैंने कुछ कह दिया, उसने दूसरा शब्द कहा, मैंने कुछ कह दिया. Listen. No, let him expect. If you respond with mindfulness, he'll be much more happy. I can assure you. ये जो हमारी टेंडेंसी है ना, लोगों को एक he or she wants to say something and she said something जो हमको अच्छी नहीं लगी या बहुत अच्छी लगी तो बह गए उसमें. तो अगर हमारी समत्व भाव नहीं रहेगा, हम उसकी बात को माइंडफुली सुन भी नहीं रहे हैं, we end up creating disasters. That's how disasters happen in our relationships and we regret them. No, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean that. Why should we get into this?
लेकिन खाना खाते खाते गपशप मारते हैं ना, तो इन्वॉल्वमेंट होती है. ये प्रैक्टिकल है, ये मैं ये नहीं कहती हूँ, सब कुछ आपकी बात सही है, वही चीज है, लेकिन अगला व्यक्ति भी वैसा हो तब वो चल सकता है.
ये हमारा भ्रम है. ऐसा नहीं. अगर हम सोच समझ के नाप तोल में बात करेंगे तो कोई नाराज नहीं होगा.
क्या हो गया, तो मुंह बंद करके हम क्यों आए यार, वो बातें करने वाला व्यक्ति है, उसको एंजॉयमेंट चाहिए. He's talking, he's enjoying eating food and talking, laughing, and you are saying आप कम से लिमिटेड जवाब दे रहे हैं.
That's okay.
Sometimes it is very difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult. इसमें तो कोई शक नहीं. It is difficult if we don't practice properly.
Yes, that's right.
If you practice properly, if you make that our practice, that's wonderful. That is our practice. That is our practice. You see, that is the point. Actually, हम सुबह शाम बैठते हैं, कहते हैं वही practice हो गया. उसमें सुबह शाम बैठ के तो नींद ही आती रहती है. And then when you have an opportunity to practice during the day, then we say, oh, it's so difficult. I have to engage them. I have to please them. No, you don't have to please anybody. At this age at which we are, certainly, we don't have to please anybody, whosoever it be. You have to say things which are there for their benefit. So we must do things which in our opinion are going to be helpful to them. And if we want to retain our Dhamma zeal, we should never deviate from that. If you have to retain our Dhamma volition, हमारा जो धम्म संवेग हमको रोके रखना है, so those are the opportunities for testing. क्या मैं उस प्रिय बात में बैठ के कुछ भी बोले जा रहा हूँ, ये भी कर लो, वैसे भी कर लो, allowing everything to happen, ये भी कर लो, ऐसे भी कर लो, because it will please the other person. It may be anybody, it may be my close friend, maybe son, anybody. No, not at all. That's not the time. At least with the maturity of this age, so many years of practice, we should make sure that we interact with people for their benefit, Hita is the practice should be from the governed by 4 Brahma Viharas, not by craving and aversion. वो बहुत गड़बड़ है. क्रेविंग से रिलेट करना लोगों को बहुत अच्छा लगता है. आप उनके राग बढ़ाते जाओ, अपने भी राग बढ़ाने की कोशिश कर लो, बहुत नुकसान होता है उससे. इवेंचुअली बहुत नुकसान होता है. You can see that. So we have to learn to. This is the process. This actually is the practice. Actually, देखा जाए,
Yes.
so this is the real practice. Everything else is a preparation for it. And we'll have difficulty. We'll fail. That's okay. But we don't have to justify it. दिक्कत तब होती है जब we justify it. कि ये तो ऐसा ही होगा ही. क्यों होगा भाई ऐसा? We have to understand. जो त्याग आधारित अप्रसन्नता है, वो यही है. त्याग आधारित अप्रसन्नता ये है कि मैं अपने लक्ष्य को प्राप्त नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. And whenever that I do something which obstructs this, it creates not only just the unpleasantness of other kinds, कि अब देखो मेरा उद्देश्य ये है और मैं बह गया इस डायरेक्शन में. कितनी गलत बात. Then you become more, kind of unhappy कि ये देखो मुझे ऐसी बात नहीं बोलनी चाहिए. अगर मैं ये बात मानूंगा ही नहीं और मैं कहूंगा ये बात तो सांसारिकता पे करनी ही पड़ेगी, दूसरे को खुश करना ही है मुझे, तो then I am really done. My practice is gone. If I compromise on the basics of practice, तो फिर कैसे साधना मुक्ति की तो छोड़ो, बहुत दूर की बात हो गई. मुक्ति तो मैं तो बंधन में बढ़ाया जा रहा हूँ. So it has to be, it looks very kind of unpleasant to hear such things. And I'm sorry, that's the way I understand it. मुझे तो ऐसे ही समझ में आता है. और जो बंधन का कारण है, पता नहीं कितने करोड़ों जन्म मैंने लिए होंगे. I can see that this has been the problem. This has been the problem in trying to adjust, trying to relax the practice in the light of pragmatism, in the light of लोग क्या कहेंगे, कहते रहे, what does it matter? कुछ और सुन लेंगे और प्रैक्टिस कर लेंगे. We'll get more opportunity to practice. Now, if you have that perspective, the things change. Of course, it creates sometimes unpleasantness, this, that, but eventually people realize it. I have seen it. People realize it eventually. कि आप ही ठीक ही कह रहे थे, ऐसा नहीं करना चाहिए था, हमने ऐसे कर दिया. We had did this, and ended up creating so much suffering in order to celebrate something. क्या हुआ? So you have to really. Food is one very powerful example. जो हमारे डेली लाइफ में इंटरेक्शंस हैं, they have to be. अगर हम अच्छे साधक हैं, हमारे में धर्म संवेग स्ट्रांग है, तो that should always be there at the default background state of mind कि मैं जो कर रहा हूँ वो धर्मानुकूल धम्मा पटिपदा है कि कुछ और ही जा रहा है. Is my life going in accordance with Dhamma? To whatever extent I understand it. Whether it is karma principle, whether it is Four Noble Truths, whether it is anicca, dukkha, anatta, whatever is my choicest way of understanding the samma ditthi. Am I doing things according to that or not? Whether it is eating, whether it is talking, whether it is getting clothes, buying clothes, whether it is going to market or whatever. And if I am forced by circumstances to do something, I recognize, okay, I'm getting forced to do this, fine. But I don't justify it. The moment we justify it, we have kind of buried our Dhamma somewhere. When we are forced to do something, then it creates the त्याग आधारित अप्रसन्नता. मुझे ये करना चाहिए था, मैं नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ. देखो मेरे कर्म ऐसे हैं कि मैं ऐसी परिस्थिति में फंस गया हूँ कि मुझे ये करना पड़ रहा है. Then I see, oh, this is the result of my karma. then I improve my karma in this life. तो मैं ऐसे काम करूं कि भैया ऐसे आगे परिस्थिति ना No. So it's up to us really.
लंगर वगैरह लगते हैं या कोई शादी में गैदरिंग होती है, people eat. Maybe some may be mindful or some may not be mindful, but at that very moment you can see they are not talking to each other, even if they know or they don't know.
Yeah, that's right. We don't have to bother about other people.
I'm just telling you that you can. Their people eat quietly. They don't talk. They don't gossip.
Yeah.
In langar or in Kashmiri marriages, when they used to eat on the floor, means.
It depends really. We are not interested in what others should do and not do. I'm not interested in that really. I'm interested in what I should be doing.
What I mean to say is, we are mindful we can be mindful and we are mindful at that in those types of gathering, when even if we know the people or if we don't know, we don't talk or laugh or like this.
Yeah, but if you are not talking, it doesn't mean we are mindful while eating.
Yes, I do agree. We are not mindful, but some of we eat because in Kashmiri families earlier we used to sit quietly and eat mindfully. I know my mother's mama was eating quietly, not talking to anyone. In Kashmiri families, I have seen.
It depends. That's okay. The key thing for us is to see that no activity can be an obstruction to mindfulness. Simple. Whether it is talking, whether it is bathing, whether it is marketing, whether it is shopping. No, it can't be. How can it be? अजान चा की जो पावरफुल टीचिंग थी उनको अजान सुमेदो को जो गए थे वो झाड़ू देते हुए परेशान हो रहे थे. So much suffering, you know? So you can't be, you're not teaching me mindfulness. So you can't be mindful while sweeping. And that applies to everything. We should be extra mindful while talking. We should pump up our mindfulness while talking because वहां पे बहने का बहुत खतरा रहता है. दूसरा क्या कह रहा है उसकी बातों में बहते चले जाते हैं.
Sir, I have a question about this.
हाँ बोलो बेटा.
सर टॉकिंग में जैसे भी आपने बात करी, इससे मुझ में अवर्जन आ जाता है कि देयर इज अ रिस्क टू गेट लॉस्ट व्हाइल टॉकिंग. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, you become aware of it. You become aware. Whatever mind state arises, you become aware of it and have that pragya at the back of your mind. That's very important. I'm presuming, or unfortunately, I tend to presume it, but I think I need to make it explicit. Just observation is not going to do anything unless you have panya at the back. Yes, I'm assuming that we have the understanding of the fundamentals of Dhamma, which means whichever way you look at it, as just now recounted, मैंने कहा था ना कि अनित्य दुक्खा अनात्ता आचार्य सत्य, principle of karma, all that is properly understood. Then whatever arises, we see this is arising. Yeah? It's impermanent. Okay, it doesn't matter. And we pause and then do the next, whatever is the right thing, which उस समय जितनी हमारे में प्रज्ञा है, उस समय जितनी हमारी चैंटिंग में आता है ना, यथा सती यथा बलम मनसि करोमा अनुपटि पजामा. It's a very beautiful way of putting it, ना. जितनी हमारी समझ बल है, आध्यात्मिक बल है, जितना हमारी सती है, उसके हिसाब से I practice the Dhamma. सासानो पटिपति I practice it. उसके कारण मेरे सारे दुख का अंत का मार्ग प्रशस्त हो. It's a beautiful way of putting it, you know. So my last chanting, it's marvelous if you really say it from the heart. Chir parinibhutam pitam bhagavantam saranam gata dhammam ja sangham cha tasya bhagavato sasanam yatha sati yatha balam manasi karoma anupati pajama. तो भगवान के शासन का जितनी क्षमता है मुझ में, जितना बल है, जितनी सती है, उसका मैं पालन करता हूँ. शासानोपटिपति मत्स्य केवलस्य दुख खंडस्य अंत क्रियाय संवत्तु. तो ये मेरा प्रतिपादन भगवान के मार्ग का मेरे दुख के अंत करने में मार्ग प्रशस्त करे, ले जाए, उस तरफ ले जाए मुझे. That should be our constant reminder of everything. In every activity, we can remember it. हाँ, मैं ये कर रहा हूँ ना, मैं भगवान की शिक्षा के अनुरूप प्रतिपादन कर रहा हूँ, और हर शिक्षा का प्रतिपादन तो प्रतिक्षण होगा ना. It can't be just in morning, evening sitting. That's good, of course. But when we are discussing things like the comes जो हम यहाँ पे discuss कर रहे हैं, 5 खंड और उनको तोड़ के देख रहे हैं, we presume that we are really deeply interested in following it. And therefore I'm saying these things. That's what I look, the way I practice, and I wish all of us practice together. भूल जाता है, ऐसा नहीं है कि constantly याद भूल जाते हैं. It's okay, we forget it. Then we do it again, then we remember again, restart, and we don't get disheartened, we don't get averse with it. That's the key thing. We recognize कि भाई जैसे हमने पढ़ा था ना जानचा की writings में, 70% of the practice is that we know what is to be done and we forget what to do it. But then we recover, okay, I forgot, let me do it again. Because if I create aversion, I am harming myself. That is the understanding I have. तो वो understanding मुझको prevent करेगी aversion को create करने में. Does it help, Shan?
जी सर, थैंक यू. यस.